Hi, I'm Dominique Horvath. I'm the AMD Chief at the National Weather Service Pacific Region Headquarters. Today we're going to present some training and demonstration materials in reference to the Pacific Region CD435 application, which was created by the Systems Operations Division. This presentation will be given by Katie Riano, and the use of this application is required by Pacific Region Headquarters as of October 15th, 2021 for the approval of any purchase card requisitions. With that, I will hand over to Katie Riano. Thank you.
Thank you, Domo. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, aloha and welcome to this presentation on the Pacific Region's Procurement Request App, also known as the CD435. My name is Katie Riano and I serve as Procurement and Financial Management Specialist for the region, and I'm also part of the Administrative Management Division team. Today we will be covering these topics. At the end of the presentation will be 2 slides with Q&As that might answer some of your questions. Of course, feel free to reach out to me at any time after viewing this presentation should you have any questions. My contact info will be provided on the reference slide towards the end of the slides. As all purchase card holders already know, pre-approvals are required prior to purchase. Using this procurement request app, date stamps the final approval date, so it is really important that you get your approvals completed prior to purchase. Pre-approval dates are one of the areas that internal auditors will look at if your card is ever selected for review. You do not have to be a purchase card holder to use this app. However, if you are not a card holder, you will need to select a card holder who can do the transaction for you. I recommend that you check with that cardholder first before selecting them on your request, as the cardholder also has the ability to disapprove your request. The app will pre-populate your name and contact information when you're logged into Gmail. Please note that the form will only work with Google Chrome. Please do not use other browsers with this app. What if it's an emergency? Our emergency purchase policy is linked here on this presentation. I will bring that up. So let's say that you are on TDY and need to purchase a supply on an emergency basis. Pre-approvals can and should still be obtained verbally from your approving official. This will be followed up with a confirmation via email from your approving official. Then at your first opportunity, submit the CD435 and process as usual. You must retain the pre-approval email and use that together with your approved CD435 as part of purchase documentation. This will satisfy the pre-approval requirement on an emergency basis. Now back to the slides. The Google app was created by the Pacific Region SOD Group and their web developers. First launched in July 2017, the app was tested extensively within SOD before launching to the remainder of the region in spring of 2018. This procurement request app was designed to completely replace the paper or PDF version of the CD435. The paper or PDF process was not ideal because the form was emailed, hand-carried, it could get lost, or we didn't know who had it last. This often caused problems and ultimately delayed purchases. With this app, your submitted request will automatically route for approvals based on the requester, the accounting code, and who the cardholder is. There are also some safeguards in place to prevent incorrect project code and/or code combinations. IT purchases will route for an additional review by SOD. The app will also generate a reminder email to approvers daily if they do not approve or disapprove on the first day they are prompted to do so. Requests can also be saved and reused again with updates. The app allows division heads, program managers, and the budget office to better track costs that they manage. And finally, it is very easy and convenient to use. Should you experience any technical issues with the app, you may submit a help desk ticket. The link is provided in this presentation, and select Procurement Request App in the Request Type drop-down box. The presentation includes a link to the Procurement Request app, which you can bookmark. In addition, you can always find it on our Pacific Region intranet pages at the very bottom in the links area, as shown here. For new employees or first-time users only, you will see a box like this pop up asking you to complete some information. If you are unsure of the answers on any of these, please check with your supervisor. Note that this will only happen on your first access, and you should be able to access the app immediately after. Now here is what the app looks like, and I will be spending a few minutes going over specific areas before we go into a demo. Number one, name your request in this area here. This is so that you can pull it up later on previously saved requests. Number two, a supporting document limited to one file only is optional. Number three, a requester details will be auto-filled as mentioned earlier, so my contact information is pre-populated here. Now in the procurement details section, we do need to select a cardholder name. Even if it is yourself, you will need to click on the drop-down box and select yourself, or if you're not a cardholder, you may have to select another person. The invoice address and ship to address have drop-down boxes showing each office name. Upon selecting that, it will populate in the boxes below. The seller's name and address can be filled in here with perhaps a web address, if it makes more sense to do so, a POC name or phone number, whatever applies to this request. This here seller's employer and tax ID number is only for convenience check presentations. We do not need to fill this in for normal purchase card transactions, and I will address that a little bit later. In the line item section, we can enter a description, quantity, unit issue, and cost per unit. The estimated amount column will calculate the total for each line. If freight or shipping charges are quoted separately, you may enter it into this box here and it will total down below. We will enter a brief purpose or justification for the purchase here. Now last we come to the funding section. You should know your accounting code information before starting this request. The fund code FCFY, project, org, task, and object class codes all have drop-down boxes. FCFY stands for Fund Code Fiscal Year. 99% of the time, you should be able to find the codes you need in the drop-down boxes. However, please know that you are not restricted to just the codes in the drop-down if you've been provided a different project and org code combination. In rare situations, we are sometimes provided codes that are external to our region, and so this is to accommodate those requests, and you would simply type those codes in. For the object class and org codes, I highly recommend using the drop-down box if possible, because it should be in this specific hyphenated format. For org codes external to our region, you will need to type that in. The total distribution percentage must be 100%. Then we enter any clearances remarks if needed. This is optional. And answer the IT purchase question, yes or no. Before you hit save and submit or save for later, take a look back at your role to make sure everything is filled in completely. Then you have the option of saving for later or save and submit. Once you submit your request, you should receive a confirmation email from the PRH procurement request system within about 5 minutes. If after a good 10 minutes or so you don't receive a confirmation email, please consider resubmitting. It's rare that an error would occur, but there could have been something wrong with your submission, so please go ahead and resubmit. I also recommend that you retain this email until you receive final approval status due to the 2 links contained in this email. The first one says the full request can be viewed here. And if you click on this link, you can see the current status of your request. You will be able to see who's already approved, who has yet to approve, if it's still pending. The second link allows you to cancel the request at any time before final approval. As of the time of this presentation, the links are located at the bottom of this email. However, we are working with our web developer team to bring these links up to a more noticeable location within the email. Once your request is finalized, you will receive a finalized status email. It's important that you confirm the final status at the bottom says approved before making the purchase. This is because it could also state denied or canceled if you canceled your request. Approvers can only approve or disapprove and are unable to change or correct accounting codes in your submission. Many times, approvers may disapprove because there is a problem somewhere, perhaps with the accounting code. Approvers should add a comment on the correction needed, if applicable, whenever denying a request. Then the submitter should be able to pull it back up under previously saved requests, make the necessary corrections, and submit. On the same page as the procurement request app, there is a procurement search feature where you can search for submitted requests by cardholder and/or requester names. Please note that the search results are limited to the current fiscal year. Before we go into our demo, a little bit about convenience checks. Convenience checks are only used when a vendor is unable to accept payment by credit card. In this situation, we require a written statement from the vendor, an email is fine, that they are unable to accept payment via purchase card, and they can provide you with their tax ID number. Once we have these 2 things in hand, plus your approved CD435, you may forward this to a convenience check writer so that a check can be cut. Please let us know if you do not know a convenience check writer, and we can direct you to one within the region. Convenience checks are rarely used, as we should be using the purchase card to the maximum extent possible. Now, we will be moving on to a demo of the process of the app. And remember, you should already have your accounting code information ready for your request. You would have either gotten the codes from your supervisor, or please check with them if unsure. So here's the scenario. I will be purchasing 4 boxes of classification folders at $35 per box. This purchase will be for AMD, and so I am using an AMD appropriate project code, task code, org code. The object class 2619 stands for purchases, other miscellaneous, and I will be charging this to 100% AMD. Then I will also show you how we can split the purchase by splitting the cost accounting with SOD 50%. With that, I will move on to, whoops, can I see that? Okay, let's go here. Okay, so now that the app is up, I will name this request Demo October 27, 21. And I don't have to click Save for later because I will be saving it at the very end. I do not have a file to upload. My details are here. I do need to select my name as a cardholder. My invoice address will be IRC. I also want this shipped to the IRC, and so the addresses have come in. I am purchasing these items from GSA Global Supply. Already done my market research on where I'm going to buy it from. And it really makes sense to add a web address since I'm buying this online. I do not need to enter any seller's EIN. Here I will type in my description of what I am buying. Classification folders. I am buying 4 boxes at $35 each. And it totals it for me $140. Now, if I were to be charged, if I knew I was being charged shipping or handling separately, I would add that here. It would subtotal. But GSA Global does not charge me a separate shipping cost. I will zero that out. For justification, I'm going to say this is for AMD contract files. Now, fund code for FY22 majority is 1093. Fund code fiscal year is 2022. The project code was W8MM-W00. My task code is P2N, which stands for office purchases. Org code 2060-0005 AMD. The object class is 2619. All other purchases. And I'm allocating this cost 100% to AMD. So now it's showing that it's $140 being charged to AMD. Then I would say this is not an IT purchase. And at this point, I can save and submit or save for later. However, we have a scenario too where I'm breaking the cost between AMD and SOD. So I can either change this to $70 and notice that the percentage has changed to 50%. Or I could have changed this to 50% and it also would have changed this to $70. But I'm going to go ahead and add the accounting code for SOD, Systems Engineering and Support. The task code remains the same, office purchases. The org code is SOD. Object class is 2619. This is a 50% allocation. So whenever there's more than one line of accounting, I believe it brings up a justification for funding line item 1. But I'm going to say this is a 50-50 split for AMD and SOD. And at this point, I can save and submit. I'd also like to show you how previously saved requests look like. So if I click on this drop-down box, I can pull up a previous purchase. And it takes a few seconds for it to come out here. And here it is. So this is one I've done last fiscal year for HFO. I bought it from Granger on a GSA contract. This was for a marine fax, which costed this much. I put in my justifications and this. So why I'm showing you this is that if you are buying similar items on a repeat basis, this might be a good way to bring it up, update it, update your vendor name, costs, accounting code appropriate to FY22, and then submit. So it is very convenient in that way. Okay, and here's the procurement search feature that I was talking about earlier. You can search by cardholder and or requester name. So I'm going to select myself as cardholder. And this could take a minute or two, but why don't we just let that run, the search, and then we'll go back to our slides and come back to this later. So this is a references slide. I've also put the project org codes and approvers list linked here, my contact information, but why don't I show you this accounting codes list. So if you are a new employee, this will not make much sense, so you will need the help of your supervisor. However, this lists all the project codes that are valid in our region and the org codes that are combinable with these project codes. So you can see that certain project codes, there are several org codes that can be valid with this project code, while other project codes are limited to only one org code. And then on the very right column are the names of the program managers or budget authority who approves these combinations. Okay. Okay. So while we were doing that, the results have come up, and you can see that this is one that I submitted on October 5th of 2021. I was the requester and the cardholder, and this was approved for $140, and there is a details link here. So that link is also provided in that final confirmation email that you get, but I would verify that it was approved before making the purchase, and the cardholder should download this as a PDF and save it to their computer because they will need to provide this as documentation when they reconcile their purchases in City Manager. So this is what it looks like. Okay. And finally, this is the link to our procurement page on the Pacific Region intranet site. The link to the slides are located near the top under slide presentations. There's one that says CD435 app slides. And the final two slides here are Q&As that I mentioned earlier. So I highly recommend that you check these Q&As out. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much for attending. And please do reach out if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you.